Okay, welcome back. This is Series 4 of the TA Escalation 2021 Pro Tournament. And we are now in round 2, so this is where things start to get good. Every cast from here on will be round 2 and beyond. So the more games that we cast, the tougher and more competitive the games will become, and I'm very excited to watch these with you guys. I haven't watched these beforehand, so as we watch these together, we will see events unfold. And in the top left, this player here that I'm watching in the red trunks is the Corps Commander, Oskar, who has started KBOT first. And in the blue trunks, we have Harald, the Arm Commander, who has gone vehicle first. By the way, I have to give a huge shout out to Harald. He has been extremely helpful in providing the resources to make these casts possible. He's been very, extremely helpful, and I wouldn't be able to do this without him. So huge shout out to Harald. I also hear he's incredibly good looking, and all the women love him. So thank you, Harald. I really appreciate everything that you've done, and I wish you luck in the tournament. So we will see how far that goes in this game. And let's check out what the players are doing. It looks like up at the top, Harald has gotten a single Jeffy. He's taken out one metal extractor. Let's see if we can get the second one. It looks like that AK is going to thwart him, and he's going to go for this top metal extractor. But he gets reclaimed just in time, so that metal extractor is going to stay alive. And in the meantime, we have a few AKs coming down the side here of the map. Let's see what Harald's doing. He's got some flashes. So nothing too out of the ordinary so far. As I said in my last cast, this map is called the Gauntlet for good reason. You have this massive chasm in the middle separated by the two bases, and this chasm is very harrowing. It's the reason it's called the Gauntlet is you have to make it through all of your opponent's units and defenses to get into the meaty core of their base and be able to do the real damage that you want to do against your opponent. And so this map does tend to lead to longer games just because it is so big. There is such a gulf between the players' starting positions. And so I expect a longer game, and I'm very excited to see how these players decide to approach this particular map. Already there's a pretty big difference between the way this game started in the last cast I did between Rampage and Lord Vader, in that Harald has decided to go vehicles first, and Oskar has decided to go KBOTs. And now, as I've said before, on this map, I think vehicles would probably be better. If I were playing it, I'd be going vehicles. But players so far in this tournament have had a very keen ability to make me eat my own words. So maybe that'll happen again. Maybe Oskar will show me why I'm wrong, why KBOTs are the better option on this map. And once again, I will put my own foot in my mouth. But we'll see. MAKs are very good against flashes in general if you meet them in equal numbers. But it does look like Harald has so many flashes in this situation that the MAKs are really just not going to stand a chance. And he's gonna have to retreat here. Let's see what the players are doing in their own bases. Harald is already going for advanced vehicle plant. Nothing out of the ordinary there. He's got a Geo. He's building some warriors here. Let's look at this attack in the middle. It looks like he's going for a bit of a run by with these flashes. No, he's just going to try to take out the defenses, but doesn't work out too well. And Oskar does have some light laser towers here on the right side that are going to quickly clean that up. So nothing much getting accomplished here in the middle so far. It is the gauntlet. That's what you expect. Success is it's an anomaly on this map. It's the gauntlet, and so every run by that you can achieve, every success you can have against your opponent requires quite a bit of commitment and quite a bit of getting through all of your opponent's forces and defenses before you can slowly make it into their base and do that permanent economic damage that each player is so craving. But at the moment, I got to say, I do like Oskar's composition a little better. The MAKs are very good against flashes, as I said before. They're going to do incredible damage against them and kind of clean them up. And already you can kind of see this in action. Those forces went head on, and it looked like Oskar definitely came out on top, which forced Harald to retreat. Let's look at Oskar's base. He's gone for advanced K-Bot lab. Nothing too unexpected. He's upgrading his geo. And just like Lord Vader did in the last cast, he's gone for pyros first. Pyros can be very strong at when you first finish T2 K-Bots, but you don't want to stay on them too long, especially on this map. They are a very good surprise technique. They're a good raiding unit, but they're not very good once your opponent starts to build counters, like we saw Rampage building those Bulldogs in the last cast. So again, pyros can be very strong, but you definitely don't want to overcommit to it. You want to use them while they're at their peak effectiveness and then transition into something else. Like I said before, I think on this map, sumos are very strong. But we'll have to see what Oskar thinks and what he decides to build from his lab. Now, it does look like Harald has achieved a little bit of a run-by with Panthers. These Panthers are quite a bit faster than the MAKs, so it seems like he got around them. He was able to skirt all the defenses, skirt all the K-Bots, and get into Oskar's base here a little bit. He's done some damage. It looks like he's taken out about 5 metal extractors. That's respectable. It's annoying at the very least. Oskar's going to have to rebuild those. And looking at the economy, Oskar's on 57 metal per second, and Harald is on 80. So Harald is quite a bit ahead just on metal produced. So I would say that was a successful run by. It looks like perhaps he just came down this way. He just skirted by these and went all the way, probably skirted by these too, and just went into his base with those fast-moving Panthers and did some economic damage, temporary economic damage, but he still hasn't rebuilt them. It's going to take a little bit. And meanwhile, Harald is he's getting an advantage. Now, Harald has built a lot of Thunders, the armed bomber. I'll have to keep my eyes on these things. Here we go. Let me zoom out, see if anything's going on. All right, let's see what we can get done with these bombers. From what I remember seeing, Oskar doesn't have a lot of air defense. So let's slow this down, maybe even slower than normal. As you can see, Harald is he's utilizing a technique on these bombers which allow him to take several passes. He doesn't have to wait for the bombers to swing all the way around in order to drop their payload. This is an old technique that's been around since the original game, which you can use to force bombers to drop their payload several times over a period of seconds. And it looks like he got this Geo to just one hit. One hit. It was so close. I mean, just one more bombing run probably would have taken this out. So very effective by Harald. He got at least one Geo. And, I would say, another effect of a successful bombing run like that is the psychological damage. And by that I mean, you kind of scare your opponent into perhaps overcommitting to air defense. Harald could potentially never build an air unit for the rest of the game, but Oscar's going to be afraid. Oscar's going to be on the back foot, worrying that there's going to be another bombing run coming anytime soon. And so let's see. That's kind of what Harald's doing. He's stopped building bombers. He's building a few fighters. But now Oscar's going to be afraid of that bombing run for the rest of the game. So that's a really interesting strategy. I would say very effective bombing run, if for no other reason than the psychological toll it takes to just have that ever-present threat looming over you. And so here we have another battle in the mid. We have Bulldogs again, and we're kind of running into the same issue, the same dynamic that we saw in the game between Rampage and Lord Vader, because Bulldogs just eat these units alive. Right? These are slow-moving, kind of medium health units. The Bulldogs outrange them, they out-DPS them, and they just eat them alive. It's not even close, really. And Bulldogs require specific counters. They're very strong, and cans aren't really that counter. I mean, cans, they're not terrible against Bulldogs. I won't say that, but the Bulldogs still do outrange them, I believe. And the cans are slow. And so it's at best between cans and Bulldogs, it's even, right? It's kind of an even fight. It's a 50-50, but you don't want to just a 50-50 with your opponent. You want to counter their build. You want to counter their units, and so Oskar needs sumos. I think sumos are better here. I know they're expensive, but they're very good against Bulldogs, especially on this map. And these cans will, they'll do okay. I mean, like I said, it's probably about equal, maybe about 50-50, but even then, when your opponent hits a critical mass of Bulldogs, I still think it's going to be stronger than the cans, because the cans don't have AoE and the Bulldogs do. And so when you get into this little clump situation, the Bulldogs their AoE damage is going to hit multiple cans at once, and that's going to have this critical mass effect, which causes the cans to just melt as a group. So, again, cans aren't terrible against Bulldogs, but they're not good either. At best, it's an equal matchup, and even I don't even know if that's true. I feel like Bulldogs are still stronger. Now on the right, we have a Zeus push. The Zeuses are going to walk into this defense. Zeus is an ARM T2 K-bot. It's very, I would say it's kind of it's the ARM equivalent of the can. They're a little faster than the can, but they have less health and they do less damage. But that's kind of the philosophy between the two factions anyways. ARM units are typically faster and more mobile, more agile, and the core units are slower, beefier, and do more damage. That's just a general philosophy. That's not always true, but that's kind of the generalizing philosophy between the two factions. Cans actually do beat Zeus's pretty well because they have more health and do more damage. So it does look like this Zeus push isn't going to accomplish much, probably. It's just going to get cleaned up by the cans and the defense. So, but here in the middle, we do have, again, this potentially critical mass of Bulldogs, and that's very bad. Again, in both games, I felt like whether it was Rampage versus Lord Vader or Harald versus Oskar, I feel like in both games, the core players weren't building the correct counters to Bulldogs. As I've said before, Bulldogs are their scary units. They're kind of good against, they're very well rounded. They have good speed. They have a lot of health. They have good range. They have good fire rate. They have AoE. They require specialized counters. And if you're just kind of building whatever, it might be you might have a bad time. And so that's kind of what we're seeing here. It seems like Oskar is continuing to build cans and MAKs, and you know, as units these are fine, but they don't really counter Bulldogs that well. I think there's a lot of compositions these would be great against. If Harald was just building Zeus's, this would be great. This would be a great composition, but because he's building Bulldogs, it's not working so well. So, in TA escalation, army composition is very important. It makes a huge difference. You know, micro is also important. Like how you micro your units is very good. For example, Harald is kind of microing his Bulldogs out of the range of these slower K-bots, and that's having a very tremendous impact on their ability to catch up with these Bulldogs and kill them. So they're just kind of taking free shots while not being able to retaliate in kind. And now it looks like Harald has now made it into Oskar's base, into the right side, his economy. The left side is where he started, so there's more of his production. It's a little better defended, but this right side is pretty much undefended completely, except for the single geothermal power plant with an upgrade, the riot cannons. So yeah, we'll have to see what Harald can get done. And while this is going on, let me look back. Harald's base, he's teching up, building some resource generators. Let's see what else. Oh, he's going zippers. Okay, so Harald has now gone T2 K-bot as well. He's going to try to take out this geothermal power plant. Here's the zippers. They've made it all the way up. Zippers are very fast. They are they're an ARM T2 Raider, Raider Assault K-bot. They're not so good in combat, but they are very good at getting around your opponent's defenses and harassing, exploiting, raiding, taking out critical structures and economic infrastructure, things like that. He's also got a conga line of Bulldogs coming up the left side here. Now this, as I said before, the left side is quite a bit more defended, but this geothermal power plant is just one hit away from death. So we'll see if we can get that last shot or two. Oh, he's not focusing it. Maybe he doesn't know that it's so low. It's in the heat of battle. It's kind of hard to tell, but very, very close. Let's see what's going on in the middle here. In the middle, Harald has an army of freedom fighters that are just kind of on patrol, taking free shots at the can. And as you can see, even though they're shooting almost an endless barrage of rockets, they're still not doing very much. That's a testament to both freedom fighters and hawks in this mod have been nerfed pretty hard in terms of their ability to damage ground units. And that's just because it was kind of an abusive mechanic in the original game. So that, you know, these the T1 fighters still can target ground units. They just do kind of a very fraction of damage that they did originally, as we can see. And I gotta say, it's not looking so good for Oskar. Just looking at the mega map, basically the whole right side of his base has been totally raided and pillaged and just kind of slowly eaten out of existence by constant raids of Bulldogs, Zeus's, and Zippers. And so that whole right side of his base is gone, and the economic damage that has caused is it's incredible. Harald is now at 172 metal per second, and Oskar is at 77. So Harald is essentially at 100 metal per second more, which means this game is essentially a matter of time. Let's look at Harald's base again. he is building some brawlers. This is a pretty good unit for cleaning up. Definitely for perhaps finishing the game. Maybe you could go for a commander snipe if he gets enough of them. What else? Second fusion. And let's see what Oscar's doing here. Oscar's building more cans, crashers. But see this, yeah, the problem with this is that this is a strategy to survive. Building more cans, yeah, might help him live longer, but I don't think he can really win like that. Again, like I've said before, the cans are okay against some compositions, but against Bulldogs and now Fidos are going to outrange these. The Fidos are both faster, and they can outrange the cans, and so cans would be very good against Panthers, but Fidos will outrange the cans if he micros them correctly. You can see Fidos have a very long range, and they can just kite those cans forever. And he's also got a lot of Bulldogs here, so that's going to do an insane amount of damage to this army of cans. To me, this kind of looks like Oskar making one last desperate push down the left. He probably knows the game is over, and so he's just kind of doing, one last hurrah. The epic Lord of the Rings last stand type thing. Let's zoom out here and see what else is going on. I'll speed it up. Harald also has some Mavericks. The Maverick is it's like a T2 skirmish K-bot. They're relatively short range, but they do a ton of damage. They're very good for scrappy engagements where they can use their dual pistols to do unbelievable damage. They're especially good against T1 units. They're not so great against cans because cans have quite a bit more health and do more damage, I think, than the Mavericks do. But at this point, I don't think it matters too much. Harald doesn't have to be super efficient with his trades. He really just needs to continue throwing stuff at his opponent until essentially until Oskar just crumbles under the pressure. So right now I think that's what we're witnessing. Oskar did build an emulator up here, which will stop some harassment. It will stop some run bys, with pesky things like the zippers. But as you can see, there's just kind of an endless stream of units coming from Harald's base that are going to be ultimately going to be very difficult for Oskar to stop. We do have some spiders. They're going to be paralyzing these cans. The cans are very slow moving, and so they kind of make good targets for the spiders to just hold in place and let the Bulldogs slowly melt their health down. And now he's brought in these brawlers, which I mentioned earlier. We'll see what the brawlers can do. He's also got some hawks here to defend the brawlers from any kind of air defense, any kind of Avengers that might come in and attempt to stop these brawlers from just waylaying all of Oskar's base. And this is it. I think this is going to be GG. He's just he does have some flak, and so the brawlers do get taken out, but at this point he's just closing in on his base, and he's most likely going to call it. Oskar was going for T3, which I guess was kind of a Hail Mary. I guess potentially could have changed the game, but it was just a little too late. And he's bringing his commander. Commander gets smushed by all of Harald's stuff. And but no, that was a really good game. But again, I feel like there was a similarity. There was some. It reminded me a lot of the game between Rampage and Lord Vader, where one player went vehicle, the arm player went vehicle, the core player went K-bot, and the arm player went Bulldogs, and the core player failed to adequately counter the Bulldogs, and they just kind of got run over. So, yeah, it's TA Escalation is a game of counters. You got to build the right counters in order to stay competitive, stay on even footing with your opponent, or even to pull out ahead. So, yeah, it was a really good game, and let's go on to game 2. Okay, this is game 2 of round 2 of the tournament between Oskar and Harald. And in the red trunks, we have Oskar, the core commander, who has started with 2 underwater metal extractors and is building some eco first. And in the green trunks, we have Harald, who has opted to go for seaplane platform first, which is a very interesting strategy. This is not what you would typically expect on a map like this. Typically on a map like this, which is, by the way, this is pretty much a fully water map. The map is almost completely water. There's a little bit of land, but I would say it's almost just there for show. There are some geos, locations, but that's about it. It's a water map. And typically on a map like this, you would start with a shipyard, which is what Oskar has done, but Harald is doing his own thing. Harald doesn't care. He's doing his own thing. No one's gonna tell Harald how to play this damn game. Harald makes his own builds. So he's gone for seaplane platform first. It is absolutely not the default strategy. In fact, it's kind of risky. But it could pay off because construction seaplanes are much better for taking the economic advantage over the map. Ooh, but this seaplane might run into a searcher. No? Okay, it looks like he didn't see it. It looks like he's safe. But as I was saying, building Harald going seaplane first, it's a bit risky. But he did go for 2 shipyards afterwards, so it looks like he'll be fine. And let's look at Oskar's base. He's still on 1 shipyard, and he's building floating metal makers. I don't know about that. Let's get his view. Let's see what he's got underwater. Yeah, he is building these underwater metal extractors. Looks like there's a little skirmish in the middle. Harald, of course, reclaiming all these rocks. This is another benefit to going air first. In addition to being able to more quickly take the metal spots, he is also taking he can take the geos, and Oskar cannot take the geos because he would need a builder that could reach the land. So we do have some Vikings here. Oskar sending some Vikings down to Harald's base, and Vikings are a new unit. In Escalation, they're like somewhere between a scout and a destroyer. It's a missile destroyer. I don't know if they're called missile frigates or missile destroyers, but yeah, that's essentially it. They're like a skirmisher ship. They not quite as powerful as destroyers, but not as weak as scouts. They exist in some hybrid reality between the two. And here we have Harald making use of let me slow this down a little bit, because you don't see these very often. The Cormorant, which is a depth charger gunship. And so what this thing will do is it'll fly over a target, and it will shoot depth charges from the air while it strafes back and forth. And I'd like to see it in action. Here we go. This is what it looks like. It's just shooting those depth charges. He does have a single defender here, a Stinger, which is like a amphibious, I guess, defender. But Harald is pushing forward with some Vikings. He seems to have quite a bit more. Of course, Oskar does have a Corsair, which is it's a dual-purpose anti-air and anti-submarine ship, but its depth charges can still hit other naval units, other units that still float above water. And it looks like he does have another Corsair here, but these Vikings should easily clean this up. It shouldn't be much of a problem at all. And Harald starts the game with a certain definite advantage over his opponent, just in terms of map presence, map control. If you look at the map, there's just a lot of green. He's got quite a significant fleet already at the top of the map, and he's going to move over. Now, these Vikings, from what I understand, they cannot shoot underwater things. They have no depth charges. They have no ability to target underwater structures. But these cormorants can. He just needs sonar. So it looks like he does have sonar. He can see these underwater metal extractors. Maybe he's targeting ground. But either way, he's taking those out with his cormorants. He's got his Vikings basically boxing Oskar in. Now Oskar does have a single enforcer. These enforcers should win in a direct engagement with Vikings, but only if it's a one-to-one engagement. There's just too many Vikings. There's too many Vikings for a single destroyer to be able to handle here. And if we look at the map again, Harald has 33 metal per second. Oskar has 15. So it's quite a stark difference between the two, just in economy. And this is going to be a very difficult position for Oskar to come back from. If you're familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it feels like Harald has kind of put Oskar into a bit of a submission, as arm bar or a triangle choke or whatever it is. He's got him in a very bad position, and he's slowly kind of strangling him out. And Oskar, it's not over. He does have a destroyer, and like I said, these destroyers can outrange the Vikings. He is building a Snake, the core submarine. That will be very good against Vikings because the Vikings can't shoot back. But the problem is that Harald just has so many of these Vikings now that he might be able to just roll him over. He might just be able to bulldoze into his base, just kind of left click, here. He could just left click at the top left of the map, and that would essentially win him the game by default. So we'll have to see. Let me check what Harald's doing. He's just got 3 shipyards pumping stuff out. Perfectly reasonable because he's so far ahead. He doesn't really need to tech up. He could just kind of rest on his laurels here, use what he has to finish off his opponent. There is this Snake, which, like I said, these Vikings cannot deal with. But a single Snake isn't going to put out enough DPS. It's with its single torpedo to really stop all of these Vikings. And again, the Enforcer is going to be pretty good against these, but one Enforcer against like 15, 20 Vikings is that's not enough. It's just he needs more, and this game looks to be over already. These water maps can be unforgiving and brutal. I don't even think Oskar did a bad job. It just kind of shows Harald's understanding of this kind of map, and he did start out, I would say, with kind of a risky play by going seaplane factory first. He certainly could have been punished for that, but it's a gamble that paid off. And now Oskar is in he's in a pretty bad situation. It looks like commander's just slowly ticking down. So yeah, great job to Harald. I think he had a very good build for this map. It worked out really well, and Oskar made a valiant attempt, but ultimately it was futile. But yeah, that certainly wasn't as long as the first game, but still a really great series. great job to both players. Harald does move on to the third round, and we wish him luck. I'm excited to cast your next game, Harald. And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next game.